Don't lie to me. Don't be shy. I just wanna talk to you.
Sound check.
Sound check. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Один, два, три. Mary had a little lamb. His fleece was white as snow.
Готовы?
First name,
My name is John.
surname,
Is King.
education,
I went to a very bad school in a very poor part of London. But I eventually ended up at Leicester University, where I took an honours degree in English, politics and history. Okay, folks, I'm back. What do you think of the new coat? I understand we're going to talk about culture and history of Britain. I'm not sure that anyone in Britain ever wore such a coat, but it looks great to me. What do you think?
I just wanna talk to you.
Джон, а вам в жизни пригодились ваши исторические знания?
It's been useful. It's helped me appreciate things from different viewpoints. On my travels around the world, it's been great to see places and just touch things that have been there for thousands of years that I'd read about in my studies. So many countries in the East, the West, various places have rewritten, decided their history, and a little like an American movie, the facts sometimes haven't interfered with a good movie or what politicians wanted to tell people. Whereas in our own history, there's never been any need to change the facts, and everything is so open. You can't cheat the fact.
А какой у вас самый любимый период в английской истории?
I don't think it would be this period. Thankfully, the studio assures me there are no insects in this wig, but in the time where people really wore hairpieces like this, they were full of insects. That doesn't actually appeal to me very much, walking around with 300 lice living on top of my head. But there are other interesting times. I think I would like to maybe have been born in the 1930s or the 1940s. It would be interesting to see, I'm sure it was a terrible time, but to see some of the things that I heard of from my grandparents of the Second World War. And I think to be a teenager in the 1950s would have been great. I loved the music, I loved the clothes, I loved the cars. I could have been a teenager in the 1950s and really enjoyed myself.
А кто является вашими любимцами в английской истории?
They are both British, and they are both women, strangely. When I was studying for my degree, and I decided to research and write a document on Mary, Queen of Scots.
Мария Стюарт, королева с 3 коронами, правительница Шотландии, Франции, претендентка на английский престол. В результате интриг королевы Англии Елизаветы была заточена в крепости и через 7 лет заключения публично обезглавлена. Обожала бильярд. По легенде, обезглавленную королеву завернули в сукно с ее бильярдного стола.
If you go back through history, England and Scotland were two different countries. They fought all the time. We had then Henry VIII, who took England away from the Catholic Church. Now our Queen is the head of our church. We don't associate with Rome anymore. And the two kingdoms had their own kings and queens. Lots of good films. Braveheart, Mel Gibson. Good film. Total rubbish. Historical facts. The Americans never let historical facts get in the way of a good movie. But that's okay. We'll forgive them. It was very entertaining. Um, but, oh, we love the American movies. We love the American movies. In more recent times, my heroine, or my favourite person, would be Margaret Thatcher. Not that I agree with everything that she said or did. I like someone who, if they say something, they mean it and they will do it, regardless of the consequences.
Маргарет Тэтчер – первая в истории Британии женщина-премьер-министр. За 11 лет правления она стала истинным лидером нации. За жесткость, мужскую логику и умение стратегически мыслить ее называли самым сильным мужчиной в НАТО, лучшим и единственным мужчиной в британском кабинете и железной леди.
We had a war with Argentina, which is crazy. It's a crazy idea of a war. England, tiny little England, we were a world power some time ago. We still think we are, of course. And Argentina, a long way away. And just off of the coast of Argentina are some tiny little islands. But they belong to Britain. They have the Union Jack, our flag, on their flag. And the Queen is on their money. And Argentina have claimed these islands for years and decided to invade. And Margaret Thatcher said, you'll not do that. We will send the Navy and the soldiers down and we will take them. And she did. It was problems. There was a lot of people who said, oh no, we will talk about it. Politicians love to talk. They're talkers, not doers. Margaret Thatcher was a doer. And whether you like it or not, she got the job done. Can I take it? I have a frog in my throat, which is a very English saying.
А какова реальная роль королевы в политической жизни Великобритании сегодня?
More a symbol of continuity than anything else, although she still has some powers.
Елизавета II, королева Соединенного Королевства Великобритании и Северной Ирландии, принадлежит к династии Виндзоров. Практически не оказывает никакого влияния на политику страны. Обладает великолепной коллекцией драгоценностей. Увлекается разведением почтовых голубей, породистых собак и коневодством.
In times of crisis, the Queen has powers to dismiss the government. If the government was in a mess, shall we say. Let's just take a fictional scenario. We don't have a president because a president's elected, so presidents come and go, politicians come and go, and let's imagine we had a president who argued with the government, all the parties in the government argued with one another, people were fighting in the Parliament building, and it was just generally a crazy mess. It just couldn't happen. It just couldn't. But for argument's sake, if it did, the Queen could say, all of you are dismissed. The Queen is there forever. I think what makes the British different from anybody else in the world is we have consistency. We have a comfort zone. If you can imagine, it's been nearly 1,000 years since Britain was invaded by anybody. And some of my students ask me, how can a country that is so small have ruled more than half of the world? When you look at Britain compared to the size of Russia or America, Britain is tiny. I think the way to explain it would be, it's the consistency that we have. Our governments don't have revolutions. Our governments are responsible. They're answerable to the people. If we have an election in England, which we do regularly, if the election is held on a Thursday, as they always are, by 1 or 2 o'clock the next morning, we will know who's won the election. If I want to go and see the votes being counted, I can see this. Tomorrow afternoon, the day after the election, if the Prime Minister has lost, goodbye. He moves out of 10 Downing Street and in comes the new Prime Minister. It's all very easy. It's very accepted. We all know how it works.
Великобритания. Государственный строй, конституционная монархия. Формально исполнительной, судебной и законодательной властью обладает монарх. Однако в реальности исполнительная власть находится в руках правительства, которым руководит премьер-министр. Законодательная принадлежит парламенту, который состоит из нижней и верхней палат.
One minister in England made a telephone call just to see if a friend of his wife's passport could be hurried up, if it could be got through just that little bit quicker. Not trying to secure some land deal or try to make $1 million or £1 million, just something quite small. He lost his job. It's just not in our way of thinking that politicians can cheat. And if a politician or a policeman or an official was to cheat or do something wrong, they get treated far worse than you or I. So it's the comfort that we have in our system. Plus we have the Queen. We have the monarchy, which to some people may seem very strange, but it is consistent. It has always been there. It's a feeling that we have. Most people value their independence, not being told what you must do. We have rules. There's lots of rules. You cannot drink and drive. You cannot go and shoot someone. In England, it's almost impossible to own a gun. There are lots of rules, but we have independence in thinking, independence in travel. We pay very high taxes. We expect things for that. Our children, in England, children are very important. We cannot imagine a situation where you cannot give your children a good education and care for your children. If I am ill, if you are ill in England, you'll go to the hospital, you'll be treated for free. No matter who you are, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, if you're on holiday from another country, you will be taken to the hospital and the care is excellent. It's a choice that you have to make. Over the years, over the centuries, the choice was made in our country. We decided we would pay high taxes, but we would have good health and good education. It's a choice other countries still have to make.
Джон, а как вы думаете, какой рецепт развития нормальной страны?
The recipe for a normal country. Wow, if that's a golden lesson, that if we could teach politicians that the people are more important than politicians everywhere in the world would be a great place to live. Doesn't matter whether you're in a Russian-speaking country, a Chinese-speaking country, an English-speaking country, no matter where. Sadly, politicians are the slowest learners. I not understand why, but politicians learn slowly. People are important, not politicians, not politics, not political theory, not Thatcherism, Marxism, Maoism, or anything. But that's not important. People are important. And if politicians would learn to represent people, to do what the people want, rather than to represent themselves, the world will be a great place to live. Well, time for me to say goodbye to my coat and you. Perhaps we'll talk another time. It's hot. I don't wear a hat. I think if I had hair, I would shave it off anyway.
We have another hat for you.
Another hat.